Hello everyone. Today we are going through the chapter on ratio and proportion for ESAT M1. Now the chapter on ratio and proportions is not only useful because it covers basic ratios and proportions, but also because it contains all of the common commercial mathematics that you had done in middle school, like profit loss, discounts, simple interest, compound interest, and a mixture of all of these problems. You will probably get one or two problems from this section in the ESAT final exam. So these are low-hanging fruits. Just make sure that you are not missing any of these. We will start off the chapter with the concept of scale factor. Now scale factors are applicable when two shapes are mathematically similar. Okay, we will describe more of these in the chapter on geometry where we look into similarity and congruency. But even before that, you know what similarity is, right? In similarity, the two shapes are similar with their dimensions different. Then the length of one side of the figure can be calculated by multiplying the length of the corresponding side of the other shape by multiplying it with the fixed constant. This fixed constant will be known as the scale factor. Now, if this scale factor is more than 1, your new figure will be magnified, zoomed in, and if it is less than 1, then your new figure will be shrunk, which is basically zoomed out. Nowhere does it say that the scale factor should be an integer. Okay, so the scale factor could be any real number. Root 2 is also fine. All right, so as long as you are using a scale factor more than 1, your diagram will be magnified. If it is less than 1, it is going to shrink. Okay, remember a few important formula that relates to scale factor and maps. The sums that you will get from here might involve a mixture of ratio, proportion, geometry, and trigonometry, because those are all ratios. In trigonometry also, the first things that you will learn are the standard trigonometric ratios. If you are magnifying or shrinking a diagram using scale factor, the trigonometric ratios won't change if it's a right angle triangle, because, well, the answer is in the name itself, right? It's trigonometric ratio. So even if you are multiplying it with a constant, it will cancel out and you will get the overall same sine theta, cos theta, and tan theta. All right, so remember these formulae. A scale factor is given by the length on the model or the map divided by the actual length. You can change the subject of the formulae depending on the question. There are 3 things here. 2 will be given to you and you will have to find out the third one. Actual distance is equal to map distance into scale denominator, which is basically the denominator in the scale. Make sure that you are converting units after you apply the scale factor. Whenever a scale factor is mentioned, the units are never given to you. That means you can use any units as long as it is realistic. Check out question 1. A map of a village is drawn at a scale of 1:25,000. All right, so 1 centimeter on the map should be equal to 25 centimeter in real life, or any other unit. 1 millimeter would also be 25,000 millimeter. All right, this ratio is independent of units. Distance from the bank to the post office on map is 3 centimeter. Find the actual distance. So if in the map it is 3 centimeter, in real life it should be 3 into 25,000. Now 3 into 25,000 centimeter, right? Because we measured the distance on the map in centimeter. This is 75,000 centimeter, or 750 meter. That's a standard unit that we could use in real life distances. In the village, distance from the bank to the supermarket is 200 meter. Find the distance on the map. Okay, so let the distance on the map be x. If the distance on the map is x, then the distance in the real life is 25,000x. Now 25,000x is given to be 200. So x should be equal to 200 by 25,000. This is in meters, right? So I can just multiply it by 100 to get centimeters. That will help me in cancelling. I can cancel these zeros here. I can cancel 1 0 here. So this is 20 by 25 centimeter, right? 20 by 25 centimeter. So this turns out to be 0.8 centimeter or 8 millimeter. You could use whichever unit you prefer. These are quite easy. So make sure that you do not miss any of these problems if they're in the actual exam. All right, now the main meats and potatoes of this chapter. Definition of ratio. A ratio compares two quantities in the same units. Always remember, a ratio has to have same units because ultimately a ratio is unitless. So the numerator and denominator has to have a ratio compares two quantities in the same units. When you write the final ratio, it is always unitless. So it makes sense that the numerator and denominator should be of the same units. Otherwise, it won't cancel out. So you can take the ratio of 200 meters is to 500 meters, but you cannot take the ratio of 200 meters is to 300 minutes. All right, that will become a compound unit and not a ratio. You can simplify a ratio into its lowest terms by dividing the numerator and denominator with their HCF, which is something you know because you have simplified fractions before. Ratios with more than 2 parts are simplified the same way. So if there is any common factor in a ratio with more than 2 parts, you can cancel it out. For example, 6 is to 8 is to 10 is the same as 3 is to 4 is to 5. If you are comparing ratios, try changing them into the format of 1 is to n or n is to 1. That makes it easier to compare. For formats of 1 is to n, if the denominator is smaller, then the overall ratio is larger. For formats of n is to 1, if the numerator is larger, then the overall ratio is larger. These properties of ratios are directly derived from the properties of fractions, so I don't think you should have any trouble with it. Okay, let us do a problem. A paint manufacturer produces 3 tints of grey, light, medium and dark in daily quantities of 72 liters, 48 liters and 36 liters. These are mixed into a single uniform batch that preserves the original proportions. Express the ratio light is to medium is to dark in its simplest form. This is a basic problem. So although there is a lot of story and cinematics behind it, you just have to simplify the ratio to its lowest terms. Do it. Shouldn't take more than like 15 seconds. I hope you have done it. The ratio is 72 is to 48 is to 36. All of them are multiples of 12, right? So if you cancel it, you'll get 6 is to 4 is to 3. That should be the answer. I'll divulge all the answers at the end of this page. A software development team consists of 3 engineers completing a high value project. Completion bonus is distributed in the ratio 5 is to 3 is to 4 based on contribution. The engineer with the middle contribution level receives exactly 120 pounds. Well, calculate the total bonus amount shared by all 3. So 5 is to 3 is to 4 and the middle contribution level 3 gives you 120. So what is the unit of bonus per contribution? That is 40 pounds. Total units of bonus distributed are 5 plus 3, 8 plus 4, 12. And each unit was 40. So the answer will be 480. Alright, next part. Dividing a number in a fixed ratio. When you have to divide a number, let's say 100 in the ratio 1 is to 4, do not take the first part as 1 by 4. Okay, the first part will be 1 by 1 plus 4, which is 20. That is what is given here. To divide a quantity q in the ratio x is to y, first divide q by x plus y. Always do this to find the value of one part. Multiply the value of one part x to find the value of x parts. Okay, so divide by x plus y to find the value of one part, and then multiply it by x to figure out the value of x parts. Multiply it by y to figure out the value of y parts. There is an inbuilt checking mechanism in this problem, in that you can add the x parts and y parts and they should add up to the original quantity q. Alright, so if you are feeling queasy about a particular answer, just make sure that you are adding the parts up and checking it. Okay, so 2 more easy questions. Divide $450 in the ratio of 11 is to 7. Do it. Okay, I hope you have done it. We'll check all our answers at the end. A ribbon is cut into 2 pieces, A and B. A is 125 centimeter long and B is 2.75 meters. Find the ratio A is to B. I hope you are done with the 2 questions. In the second problem, there was a trap. I am sure most of you have figured it out. 125 centimeter versus 2.75 meter. A ratio must have same units in the numerator and denominator. So transfer either of them into the other unit and you would get the correct answer. Next, we move on to an application of ratio known as mixtures. So when you are mixing volumes with different concentrations, the total amount of substance is given by concentration into volume. When we are mixing volumes with different concentrations, the amount of substance is given as concentration into volume, and the final concentration is given as total substance by total volume. Alright, so let us try this sum. A mixture X contains orange concentrate and water in the ratio 3 is to 7. A second mixture Y contains orange concentrate and water in the ratio 1 is to 4. 1 liter of X and 2 liter of Y are mixed together to form Z. What is the ratio of orange concentrate to water in Z? You shouldn't take more than 90 seconds to solve these questions. The easiest way to solve this question is by creating a table. So I'll reveal all the answers. I don't think I had given you the answer to this problem. So let us solve it. This one is 275 is to 175 because 11 by 7 is 18 and 18, if you divide 450 into 18 parts, you will get 25. So 11 into 25 is 275 and 7 into 25 is 175. A ribbon is cut into 2 pieces, A and B. A is 125 centimeter long and B is 2.75 meter. So basically the ratio should be 125 is to 275 if I consider centimeter. You can cancel by 25 and you will get 5 is to 11. Okay, again easy problem. For the next one, just make sure that you are solving it using a table because that should probably be the fastest. You don't have to write any statements. So this O represents orange concentrate and this W represents water. So in 1 liter you have it in the ratio 3 is to 7. So you have 300 ml of orange concentrate and 700 ml of water. In 2 liters the ratio is 1 is to 4. So you have 400 ml of orange concentrate and 1600 ml of water. Add them up, the total mixture becomes now 3 liters, which is kind of irrelevant. You just need the ratio. The total orange concentrate becomes 3 plus 400, which is 700. The total water becomes 700 plus 1600, which is 2300. So the ratio becomes 7 is to 23. Now we move on to best value. This is something that will help you in real life as well. So when you are trying to compare 2 deals, you either compare the cost per unit or the amount per currency. For cost per unit, lower is better. For amount per currency, higher is better. Do not confuse these two. Now, whenever you are comparing deals, please make sure that you are not flipping these. That is, if you are figuring out cost per unit, don't take the higher one. Alright, this can happen if you are in a hurry or you are not concentrating enough. So you might end up buying the expensive product. If X bars of chocolate costs Y pounds, then 1 bar of the same chocolate costs pound Y by X, and A identical bars of the same chocolate costs A Y by X pounds. So this is basically unitary method, right? Rating ratios to fractions, the ratio of X is to Y to a mixture consisting of only X and Y is A is to B, then the fraction of X in the mixture is A by A plus B. This is what I told you, right? Just make sure that you are not writing this as A by B. That is a very common error that happens when you are trying to rush. Rating ratios to linear functions. If the ratio of X is to Y in a mixture consisting of only X and Y is A is to B, then the relationship between X and Y is Bx is equal to AY or Y is equal to Bx by A. Y is equal to Bx by A is a straight line from the origin. If you plot ratios as linear functions, you will mostly get a straight line passing through the origin unless there is an initial value that you have to take care of. For example, if you are looking into plotting expenditure in a business versus hiring the number of workers, you will not get a straight line that passes through the origin, because there are some fixed costs in the business that you have to pay irrespective of the number of workers you hire, such as the electricity bill, land, and so on. Okay, so whenever you get a problem like this that is represented via graphs, do check what the initial value represents. That will be the offset from the axis. Now we move on to variations. So for variations, there are two types: direct proportion and inverse proportion. Direct proportion means as x increases, y increases; as x decreases, y decreases. So x is proportional to y implies x is equal to ky. If you bring y down, you will get x by y is equal to constant. If there are multiple observations, you can just write them as x1 by y1 is equal to x2 by y2 and so on. Inverse proportion says x is directly proportional to 1 by y. So if you cross multiply, you will get xy is equal to k, which is the proportionality constant, right? So if there are multiple observations, you will note this as x1 y1 is equal to x2 y2 is equal to x3 y3 and so on. Remember, in both of these cases, k is non-zero, because if k is zero, everything trivializes, right? So we will take a non-zero constant of proportionality. If you are solving sums via unitary method, which is the one that we described here, the algorithm would be to figure out the value of 1 unit and then scale it up or down as asked in the question. So try this question: if 12 boxes of biscuits cost $42, how much do 20 boxes cost? I hope you have done it by the unitary method, because 12 costs 42, 1 costs 42 by 12, 20 costs 42 by 12 into 20. You cancel it, you will get your answer. But I'll teach you one more method. See, 12 boxes have to be scaled up to 20 boxes, right? So 12 goes to 20. The ratio is, if you cancel by 4, 3:5. So 42 also has to be scaled up in a ratio 3:5. Now in 42, 3 units means 42. So 1 unit means 14. So 5 units would mean 70. Therefore, $70 would be the final answer. Okay. You can solve this easily by unitary method, but hey, it never hurts to learn one more method, right? Try this next problem. A packet of sweets contains only yellow, green, and red sweets. If the ratio of yellow sweets to green sweets in a mixed pack is 3:4, and the ratio of green sweets to red sweets is 6:9, nice. What fraction of the sweets in the pack is yellow? Right? If you cancel 6:9 with their common factors, you would get 2:3. So the ratios are basically 3:4 and 2:3. How do you join them? You make sure that the inner values are equal. So it would be 3:4 and then 4:6. So now you can join these two together and you will get 3:4:6. That should be the ratio. So this is the ratio of yellow, green, and red. Now the question asks us to figure out the fraction of yellow sweets. So what is the total number of units of sweets? It is 3 plus 4 plus 6, which is 13. And the fraction of yellow sweets would be 3 by 13. Yeah, that's the answer. Okay, I hope you understood this one. Now let us move on to percentages. Here are a lot of formulae that you have definitely learned in middle school. So we will just revise these one by one. I'm sure you know most of these. Now what are percentages basically? Percentages are per cent, right? Cent means 100. So it's per 100. These are all ratios scaled to denominator 100, which makes it easier to compare. Percentage of a quantity is given as P by 100 into Q. Percentage change is given as change by original into 100. Always take the original. Finding the original value from the new value is given as 1 plus R by 100 into original. R is the percentage. So you can flip the subjects of the formula in order to figure out whatever they have asked in the question. Simple interest is given as P into R into T by 100, where P is the principal, R is the rate per year, and time T is the time in years. If the interest is paid half yearly, make sure to divide the rate by 2 and multiply the time by 2. Okay. Profit percent is given as gain by cost price into 100. Loss is given as loss by cost price into 100. Mark price is what you mark up before offering a discount. So that is 1 plus M by 100 into cost price, where M is the markup percentage. Sell price is given as 1 minus D by 100 into mark price, where D is the discount offered. Tax is calculated on the final sell price at T% into sell price. If there are successive discounts, then they are applied one after the other, multiplicatively, not additively. Be very aware of this, because you will find multiple misconceptions on this in many other fields as well. If let's say a shop says buy one item get 10% off, buy two items get another 10% off, that doesn't mean that you are going to get a 20% discount. That means if your first item cost 100, after 10% discount it will become 90, and after the next 10% discount it will become 81. It will not become 80. Okay, so effectively they are offering a discount of 19%, not 20%, which is 10 plus 10. Now question 9 says tank A has 300 ml of oxygen in 2.5 liters of gas, and tank B has 840 ml of oxygen in 7.5 liters of gas. Which tank has a higher concentrate of oxygen? That's the question. Figure it out using percentages or ratios or fractions, whatever you want. I hope you have solved it. It's just basic calculation. The answer will be tank A, if I remember. Alright, now graphs of proportion. I have already talked to you about the graphs of direct proportion. They are always a straight line going upwards. Now I have already talked to you about the graph of direct proportion, which is a straight line sloping upwards. So K is positive as X is increasing, Y is increasing. The graph of inverse proportion, one part of a rectangular hyperbola, which is the graph you plot from Y is equal to 1 by X. Okay, try this next problem. On days where the outside temperature is above 20, the number of ice creams sold in a shop is proportional to T minus 15, where T degrees Celsius is the outside temperature. When the temperature is 20 degrees Celsius, the shop sells 30 ice creams. How many ice creams will the shop sell on a day when the temperature is 28? we know that the number of ice creams n is proportional to t minus 15. So n proportional to t minus 15. We are given that at 20 degree, 30 ice creams are sold. So plug in the values. 30 is equal to k into 20 minus 15, which gives you k is equal to 6. Once you obtain k is equal to 6, you can figure out what happens at t is equal to 28. You will get 6 into 28 minus 15, which is 6 into 13. The answer is 78 ice creams. Okay, I hope all of you got the correct answer. Again, shouldn't take you more than 90 seconds. Next section that we will learn is scaling area and volume. We have done linear scale factors at the beginning of the chapter. Now we will be looking into what happens if I take the area and volume of those same shapes. So if the shapes are mathematically similar and the scale factor between their sides is x, their scale factor between the areas will be x square and the scale factor between their volumes will be x cube. Using the scaling formula, try this question. A and B are mathematically similar shapes. The ratio of the area of shape A to the area of shape B is 9:25. The length of shape A is 21. What is the length of shape B? I hope you have solved it. So 9:25 here means the ratio of lengths would be square root of these. So 3:5. Now 3 units becomes 21 centimeters. So each unit is 7. Therefore, the length of shape B should be 5 into 7, which is 35. Alright. Look into the formula for exponential growth and exponential decay. I have included the commonly used cases. So for compound interest, you have the amount is equal to P into 1 plus R by 100 to the power time. And population growth is given as final population is equal to initial population into 1 plus R by 100 to the power T. For compound interest, again, be careful. If the interest is calculated half yearly, then divide the rate by 2 and multiply the time by 2. If the interest is awarded quarterly, divide the rate by 4 and multiply the time by 4. Okay. For exponential decay, this is mostly used in depreciation. So the final value is initial value into 1 minus R by 100 to the power T. This is the final depreciated value. Alright, be very aware. This is not the amount of depreciation that has occurred. To figure out the amount of depreciation, subtract the final value from the initial value. For population decay also, we use the same formula as depreciation. Final value is equal to initial value into 1 minus R by 100 to the power T. In an epidemic, the number of patients in a town trebles every day. At the end of year 1, there are 50 patients. How many patients are there at the end of day 4? I hope you have done this one. This is based on geometric progression. So at the end of day 1, there are 50 patients, right? And the number of patient trebles every day. So the common ratio is 3 and your first term will be 50. So the number of patients at the end of day 4 will be AR to the power n minus 1. So 50 into 3 to the power 4 minus 1. Whatever the value is, you could calculate. When the number of patients reaches 4,000, a cure is found and given to the patients. The number of patients decreases exponentially. After 4 days of using the cure, there are 500 patients. So that means if I take 4,000 into the common ratio R to the power 4 minus 1, this should be equal to 500. So basically R cube is equal to 1 by 8, which would give R is equal to 1 by 2. So the number of patients halves every day. Okay. How many patients will be there? 6 days after the cure. So after 4 days, we have 500. On the 5th day, we'll have 250. On the 6th day, we'll have 150. Alright. I hope the answer to this one is clear. If you need help with any of the ESAT or TMA chapters, do not hesitate to book a class with me through the link in the description below. If you need more practice problems, check out the Amazon links in the description. I'm sure the books there will help you. With that being said, I'll end this video here. Thank you for joining and I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye. Take care.